Good morning, crafty friends. Happy Saturday. I'm Beth Roy. Welcome to Stamp and Create with Beth. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today, our Coffee and a Card live on Saturday, July 20th, 2024, we are going to make a Christmas card. So I don't know if this is a thing all over, but here in the US, we do what is called Christmas in July. So let me just pull up my video here real quick. So if you, say good morning. Tell us where you're from if you're new to hanging out. Good morning, Maggie. So good morning, good morning, good morning, Linda. So today, for Christmas in July, I'll be honest, I don't usually start my Christmas cards this early, and I know I've asked you guys a couple times, and I know some of you are like done with your Christmas cards, and you are my heroes, because I just enjoy each season that I'm in, and I am not, I don't craft ahead that far. I always hope to, but I just don't. I love summertime, and I get really inspired during the season with color inspiration and whatever is going on in the moment. So that's kind of how I craft. But Christmas in July is a thing. And that's why a lot of times you see holiday sets being released. I've lost, hold on, sorry. There we go. I thought I lost my live chat. So, that's why you see a lot of those holiday things coming right now, because people make their holiday cards, and mostly Christmas. So it's like the halfway point. Jenny is usually done. She's always my hero because she designs hers way early, and I'm always late to the game. So that's okay. Whatever type of crafter you are, that is okay. But I thought for the last couple weeks for our lives, I would feature some cards that you could make. And obviously you could make these winter themed cards or whatever. You don't have to make Christmas cards. So I made this card the other day with this brand new set that's coming in the new mini catalog. So this will be available to customers in September, and it's a whole suite. It's very beautiful. But you know, I love bird stamps, and so and I really like birds with berries. I don't know why, but that's just my thing. So this set, when I saw what we were going to be using for a demonstrator event that Stampin' Up! Held called Creativity Now, I decided to jump in and get it early. So if you attended the event, you could order this early. And I want to use this bird image today. And I also used these Spotlight on Nature dies. So I didn't get the whole bundle. I just wanted the dies, but I like them. They're very unique. So this is our card. Now, instead of just a note, we're going to stamp Merry Christmas. Sorry, I'm reading the comments and it's different because I'm on my iPad. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. Everybody send Linda your prayers, good vibes, whatever you do, well wishes, and let's hope Linda can get her mojo back. I understand that. I just cleaned my room and rearranged, and I got totally derailed this week. So I understand that feeling. And I think we've all been there a time or two. Oh, sorry. I think it's easy to kind of lose your motivation. So everybody, please lift our crafting buddy Linda up. Maggie, you finished last week. Oh, that's a good idea. So Maggie, you craft mostly in the summer because you help. That's a great plan. And like I said, I always get way behind. Good morning, Dad. Thanks for hanging with us. So I wanted to use these birds. And you know, honestly, I colored these and then I kind of redid them. So you might see that I added a little bit, but I am going to show you some inspiration. So we're going to use this. I already die cut those, but I wanted to show you those. And I'm using the watercolor pencils. I just like the look. So we'll see how my birds turn out today. So I've got some bits and pieces and you are going to help me make a choice. Or maybe a couple. So I have Cherry Cobbler cardstock. This is 8.5 by 5.5, and I have it scored at 4 1/4. That's our standard card size here. I have a little strip of this paper. Now this comes from the neutral 6x6 DSP pack. So this is the color family packs. This is a design in this pack, and it is basic gray. But we may choose something a little different. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. So my original card had that pattern. And I have one of these that we're going to stamp. So this is the largest circle with this little design. I like this, but as my husband and a couple other people pointed out, it kind of looks like a paper plate on the edge. Oh, yes. No worries, Maggie. I totally get it. Totally get that. I think that's awesome. That is something you get to do. Okay, so guess what? I didn't have any current Christmas sets at all, and I have lots of retired favorites, but I thought I would pull out, since we talked about paper pumpkin stamps last week, thought I would pull out my paper pumpkin stamps that have a Merry Christmas. So I pulled out ones that are stacked, ones that are scripty. They're all different fonts, and we'll see what works. So if you've been collecting these, a lot of my customers get the October and November paper pumpkins because they know those are a Christmas holiday. Now, most of the sets also have happy holidays in there. So if you don't do Christmas and you actually use happy holidays, a lot of those sets do have happy holidays. But I saved those. I love those, and that's there's tons of greetings, and they're usually a little smaller than some of the greetings that come with the sets in the catalog. Now, I have tons of Merry Christmas stamps that are in my retired stamp sets. So I didn't pull all those out, but I thought the paper pumpkin stamp sets work perfect. So if you're collecting those, you can take some of your favorite images and make those into a Christmas card. So you guys ready to get stamping? And I will try really hard to keep up with comments. So if you are chatting amongst yourselves in the comments, that is absolutely fine. You know I love when you guys chat, but I have to actually touch my screen to see the comments and keep them up for a second. So I will try to get in a habit of doing that. First, we're going to stamp this image. Now, I want you to notice something on my card. See how you can kind of tell I had to die cut my image because I messed up. So originally this was stamped on one of these circles, and I went to stamp my greeting and I didn't use a stamp positioner and it didn't stamp all the way. So, you know, I like to keep it real. Guess what? People mess up. And I am no different than everybody else. So what I did was I used the die that matches this image, and I just adhered it to a new die cut. And I stamped my greeting first. So I didn't mess it all up. So we're just going to stamp right onto this. So it'll have a little bit different look. It won't have this little edge, but that's okay. That was my original intent. So see, whoever gets this card, they will never know that I did that. I made a mistake, but you do, because I like to keep it real. Good morning, Deb. You haven't started either, so Deb's in my club. No Christmas cards done yet. I do want to tell you about these dies, because this is becoming like a popular thing where we have a die that creates kind of like a frame. And I love this because this is like a pine. And so it has some standalone dies in here that will work really well for all types of winter cards. So we're going to grab out this image. Oh, I am happy, Maggie. You are welcome. So Maggie was noting that I shared about these last weekend. Somebody in the Paper Pumpkin Fan Club, which is a group you can join if you get paper pumpkins, created these. And Stampin' Up! Emails you a label that can fit. And I believe Jenny showed that it does fit in here. I think she showed me that. But guess what? I get lazy and I don't print those. So somebody created a smaller label, because our stamp sets can be kind of small. So here's just a couple. And then I buy these Avery envelopes to put my stamps in. Those work well for my storage system. Yes, Deb, I have projects all over my desk because I cleaned my room and I found half-done everythings. And so I'm vowing to finish those and get organized. So I have rearranged my craft room and really tried to find spaces for things. And so it's been a little overwhelming. That's why you haven't seen much from me this week, because we've been doing a lot of family things. And I was cleaning my room. So oh yes, Linda, you are in my club. If you haven't started Christmas cards, you're in my club. I do too, Linda. I am all about summer colors and embracing. I love that. So you guys know I posted 2 color combos at the beginning of this week. And I haven't even got to one of them. I have my inks out, but I haven't had time to make any cards with them. But they're some of my favorite colors together. And so I'm still going to be playing with that color combo. So I'm still going to share color combos. And I'm sharing those pictures that have just the colors. So you can save those and do whatever. You can print them. You can just save them in your digital library, whatever you want to do, so that you can go back and try those whenever you want. But I just have been really inspired with colors lately. So let's get busy. Now we might change out this piece, okay? I need to trim this anyways. It's a little bigger than I used on my original card, but I pulled out some retired papers I have and a couple current things because we might change this out. So let's get stamping and we'll get to that part later. Just trying to make sure I read all the comments. They disappear so quickly, I can't read them very fast. Yes, so we are going to ink this up with basic gray. And everybody hold your breath because I've already, usually I stamp these and then I die cut them. But we're going to do it this way today. Kind of like if you get a card kit from me, these are pre-cut for you and then you have to stamp on them. So a lot of times I recommend using that stamp positioner just so that if something doesn't come out perfect, you can restamp it. But I'm just going to go with it today. And just take your time. You don't have to be in a hurry. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to stamp everything in a hurry and get to it. And maybe you feel like that because you are in limited time when you craft. But I just like to take my time with my images. Like I said, if I had it on my stamp positioner, then it would be okay. Okay, we're good. And I'm not worried about this. So on this one, this was the same way, and I just took my pencil and extended that branch. So don't worry about that. So now originally when I colored this, I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't use any references. I just kind of went with it. And then I happened to look at a cardinal I had colored, and I thought, they don't have black beaks. They have orange. So in the paper that comes in this, that's part of this suite. Let me take it out of the plastic so there's no glare. This is gorgeous. So this, again, this is going to be with this coming in September. Here are 2 cardinals. Now, I did my female a little more yellow. It's a little more brown, or you could use a gray. So these are a little bit different colored because they're like a watercolor. So I just love all the inspiration for the different birds. I mean, I love this. So we're going to do this the same with 2 cardinals. And I actually erased my watercolor pencil and did add some orange, but it's very dark. So I'm going to try to do that a little bit better on this coloring. So I can sit back down, and I'm sorry about my light and the glare. Let's see, I used cherry cobbler, and that's pumpkin pie, I believe. Coastal Cabana for my background. So you'll see some of my pencils are very well loved. I have 2 sets of the #1 assortment, and that's because the #1 assortment changed when we had some colors retire. And then I only have 1 set of the #2, and I almost need to buy another one because my pencils are getting they're getting a little short. So there's Real Red. I don't know that I used Real Red, but we're gonna use it. Now, to brighten my berries, I actually used Flirty Flamingo on the tips, but you don't have to do that. So I do want to ask one question. I like to do red berries, but winter berries can be different colors. So do you guys want to keep those red, like I did here? Or do you want to do like a yellow or a blue? Do you want a different berry color? Linda asked, can you die cut the images? On this sheet, no. This sheet you would have to fussy cut. There is a sheet in here, let me show it to you, that works with the dies. This sheet works with the dies of the 2. These are the 2 stamp images. And they do work with the dies. But the multi-bird with this, you would have to fussy cut around this, which if you're good at that, you could just do around the edge. I wouldn't do in here, but you could. We have that X-Acto knife that goes on your take your pick tool, that you could. I need my browns here. use this one. This one's sharper. I like to keep mine really sharp. You don't have to do that. I'm looking for, there it is. So we have a new pencil. It's Pecan Pie. And ironically, the end of it looks like the Cajun Craze pencil. So I do recommend always reading your colors because the ends don't always look like the color they're supposed to be. Let's see. I'm going to bring out basic gray and my basic black. Actually. And I think that's it. So I have Early Espresso. And this should be Pecan Pie. I didn't use pecan on this one, but I'm going to on the one we're coloring today. I have Pumpkin Pie, Real Red, Cherry Cobbler. My background is actually Coastal Cabana. And then I have Crushed Curry, which I like. If you watercolor, it's a little more yellow, but I like it dry. You're welcome, Linda. Dark red berries or blue is what Deb is voting. Anyone else? Sorry. Anyone else want to chime in? Now, I do have some retired blues in here because I have the old set. Switching out some of my newer pencils aren't as sharp. So I have Pacific Point is a retired color. This was a blue that was in assortment 1. So when this color retired, that was revamped. I have Balmy Blue and Night of Navy. And then this is the new blue in the new assortment 1. It's just called Blue. So it's not really Blueberry Bushel or Azure Afternoon. I think it's like an in-between blue. So thank you for the love. Good morning, Joan. So you like the dark red, Maggie? All right. And I actually, like I said, I use some flirty, we have a somewhere. I have, that's Calypso. Somewhere I have a Flirty Flamingo pencil, and I did this up here in Flirty Flamingo. So you don't have to do that. So we'll see what everyone else says. In the meantime, we're going to get started coloring these birds. And I just, I had an old, we used to sell those stamp cases. They were for the wood stamps. And I just threw my pencils in that. So, okay, I said a lot of reds. Okay, so we'll probably just keep it the same. So instead of just a note, we're going to make a Christmas one. And you just kind of start wherever you want. And honestly, I usually start with my red bird first. And, oh, you know what I'm going to do first before I do that? I'm going to, let me move some of these to the side. I'm going to draw in where I want the black part that's on the cardinal. So let me bring in my sheet here. So this is where I messed up originally. It has a little black part on its face around the eye. So obviously this is not exact. So I'm going to draw a little thing around my bird here. And we actually had a cardinal stamp at one point. And so I knew that it had this little mask that went around, but I just forgot when I originally colored, and that's okay. So I'm just going to kind of draw this around the eye. And I am actually going to color it in darker later when I finish my colors. And then I'm going to make a little piece here. This would be the female. I'm just going to do a little mask around her eye. And I'm just kind of using that paper as a guide. It might not be exact. You could look up some stock images of cardinals and make it more exact if you wanted. Yes, Linda, I can pull my camera down. It's going to get a little shaky, everybody, because it just bends. So let me pull it down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I just drew in some of that area that will be dark on the cardinal. And I'm just using a light hand. I don't want it to be a hard line. You're welcome. Joan, you love cardinals. You don't have them in Washington? You know, I didn't notice that when I visited there, but we have cardinals mate for life, so they stay with their mate, and we have about 8 couples that live in our trees and come to eat at our feeders, and I absolutely adore it. Of course, it's Ohio State bird, so love it. And I adore all the birds. I like to just look up different birds like that have different colors, and I don't care if they're where I live. I like coloring them different ways. So I just go on Pinterest. I actually have a Pinterest board just for birds. Yes, I love it. I love birds at my feeders. That's my favorite thing, is drinking my coffee and sitting on my porch and watching the birds. So now I'm just using my pencil, and I'm just going to really lightly. So you want to have a really light hand. Can you guys see that? And I'm doing kind of a circular motion. And I'm just kind of laying on a layer of color here. So male cardinals are all red, and the females have a tiny bit of red, but they're mostly like a brown and a yellow color. So I'm just adding on a very light layer here. So that's the key when you're using pencils, is to just kind of do a light layer at first. And then, so on this one, oops, get that out of the way. I just went back in and started adding dark areas. So we know our beak is going to be this orange. And their beaks are pretty bright. I went out of the line a little. That's okay. So I'm going to leave that like that. And I do like to add a little bit of yellow to mine. So this is the cherry cobbler. Now I will warn you, these are watercolor pencils, so you can activate them with water and they look very different. You can layer them and still activate them. But if you're watercoloring on basic white, it's going to look a little bit different than if you use watercolor paper. So the Real Red is more of an orange color when it's activated. It's more of an orange red. That's just the way it comes out. But when you color with it, it is red. So I like to add this in a little places that I want some highlight or brighter colors. So I'm just going to add this in on some of this wing. And you can see how it's a little bit different red. Let me pull it up. So it is a little bit different. You can just use one pencil if you want. And I'm just layering that color. And I like the rough look of the pencil line. And I'm going to show you kind of how I made it look like feathers. So now I'm gonna start going back in and kind of pressing a little bit harder. So this goes this way. So you just want to make sure that you are taking your time with adding the pressure, because once you kind of press really hard, then the paper can only take so much. It kind of beats it down. So I'm just doing little short lines. No worries, Anna. Thanks for joining us. And as I add in more lines, it's going to give this look like feathers. So I do the same thing when I use my markers. So I do what I would call a medium hand, and then as I add more pressure and get a little choppier, just little lines, it kind of looks more like the feathers. And so that's what I'm going to continue to do. So I'm just going in circles. That's the texture I like for my underneath. You could do little short lines, but I'm just adding in a little bit darker layer. And if you want it lighter, just decrease your pressure. And then a little darker right here where the wing is laying on the body. And then I just come in and start adding onto the wing. Now I leave some parts of the wing lighter because I want it to kind of mimic that highlight that you might see on your bird. And I will tell you, none of mine, no two birds come out the same when I'm coloring, okay? So don't feel like it's not a machine. You're not going to have the same results every time, even if you try. I don't remember exactly what I did for each area. I mean, I kind of know. So as I want it darker, I just press a little harder. And you can keep adjusting. So if you do an area and you're done with it, move on to the next one. And you notice I color all, my paper moves, okay? It's kind of like when you're fussy cutting. I don't color one direction. So I like to go, if I'm doing this and I feel like the feathers go this way, that's the direction I color. So I'm just going to start going a little darker here. And sometimes I sharpen my pencil, okay, because I like them sharp. So this is just going to sharpen that a little. And now these are watercolor, so they're soft. Oop, I just broke the whole lead. Okay, let's redo that one. Okay, let's try this. It's not as sharp, but it'll work. I like mine a little sharp, and I'm just doing little lines, and I'm leaving spaces in between, okay? And then I want to leave some of this light. So I'm leaving spaces. Hopefully you can see that. I know I color kind of quick, but so they're just little lines. I want them to be as random as possible. And the harder you push, the darker it's going to start becoming. But you want that. And I just keep going back and forth till I kind of get it how I want it. And the areas I want lighter, I just change the pressure. So you can kind of see how my cardinal's coming together here. Now, something I like to do is I like to take my basic gray pencil and I go in here and add a line. It helps darken that a little bit. And I also add some lines in here where it might be a little darker. And I'm going to come back with my red over top of that. Okay. Kind of creates just a little darker, like a shade. So hopefully you can see that. Let me pull that a little close. So I just did some lines. And I just kind of keep working my image. Now this is, again, the cherry cobbler. Look how short my pencil is. I use this color a lot. Now I'm just softening this and kind of blending it. So I'm just going really light over my image in little circles and just kind of smoothing that out. And again, the more you go over it, the more it's going to blend together. So it's not exactly the same, but pretty close. Like I said, my when I'm coloring, my stuff does not come out identical each time. It comes out different every time. Okay, so I'm going to darken up this area right here. And I'm just leaving a little bit of white where that, it looks like an eye, okay? So his eye isn't fully open like this one. So I just didn't darken a little spot to make sure that you could still see that. Now let's start on our female. Now the female, as I said, it has more of a little more brown. It does have a little bit of red. Oops, I want this one up here. So I don't use orange. I use crushed curry, but I'm going to show you. We're just going to start coloring this. I'm going to color it a little bit different than I did this one. So I'm going to use really light the pecan pie. And I'm just going to go really light in here. And this is going to be kind of my base for my female cardinal. So female cardinals do not have red. The males are the beautiful flamboyant bird, and the females are, they have a little bit of red, but they're more muted. I still think they're beautiful. I like watching all of them. So I'm going to do this very light base of this color and then go from there. You can leave a little more white if you like white, you know, have a little white on the belly, but I'm not leaving any white. So I'm going to come in with that pumpkin pie. And something I like to do is I have this crushed curry pencil. I like to use it on the orange because I feel like it's not a bright pumpkin orange, but again, you can do that how you want. So I've got that done. Now I'm going to also come in with this, and mine's pretty dull. I'm going to sharpen it just a little. And I'm going to, again, start doing what I did with that red. Only this time on the belly, I'm going to leave it a little more of the brown. So I'm kind of using this line here, and I'm just going to go around that wing a little bit. And crushed curry to me has a little bit of a brown undertone, so that's why I think this color works well with this bird. So this bird's going to come out differently because I used crushed curry and the red on this one, and I'm going to have this cardinal that I'm coloring right now a little more brown. So Xana, you just joined us. Do you have cardinals where you live? And I do. I just kind of scribble. I'm a messy colorer. That's the texture I'm going for. And I'm making it a little darker around the bottom of that wing. And a little down here. Again, you can do circles, or when you're ready, you can start doing those lines. Yes, Deb, if you use watercolor paper and you like to watercolor, you could easily add these pencils on and then use one of the water painters or the blender brush to kind of smooth it and make it have a watercolored look. You could also, if you like to watercolor, you could stamp this in StazOn and then use the water painters with your ink pads. But the colors will be, they will be different. So I'm going to add a little red. Oh. Oh, so you don't either. Yeah, I guess I mean, I know birds have areas, but I guess I've never paid attention where the cardinals are. So I'm going to put a little red up here, and I'm following kind of that paper. And so I know Xana didn't see, I don't know if you were here, I'm kind of using this paper that's coming in September in the new mini as my guide. So I'm going to add just a little bit of red on my bird. And this is the cherry cobbler. I'm not using that real red. I just like the cherry cobbler red for the pencil better. Now, if you were watercoloring with your ink pads, the real red may work a little better. So I'm just putting a little bit on that wing and up here. And you don't really see the tail. It's kind of down here, but I'll put a little bit on that. The mini, Xana, demonstrators can pre-order in August, and the mini comes out in September. I don't know the exact date on September, if it's on the 1st or what. Demonstrators can see the catalog online this coming week, and boy, am I excited. Then I can give you a little more info, like the exact dates, because right now those are not in my head. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that pecan pie, And I'm going to add just a little bit of darker brown right in here. And I don't want to go too dark. I need to. I'm going to put some on the wing a little bit. And some down here. And I don't want to overwork my bird. Good morning, Vicki. Thanks for joining us. Oh, no worries. Hey, I get it. I've had those days. So that's kind of my female bird. Now I do want to come back. I'm going to come back with this yellow. And I'm going to make some harder lines here to give it a little texture. Doesn't have quite as much as my other one, but that's okay. And I don't know if it looks very real as far as nature, but I like how my bird's coming out here. So I'm just kind of layering those colors. And then to kind of smooth it, I'm going to come back with that pecan and I'm going to do really light circles. And I'm just doing really light touch here to kind of blend that. So it's just a real light touch. And I'm just doing little circles. I just feel like it helps it kind of tone down some of the lines and come together. So, what do you guys think? Now I'm going to come back in with that black, and I'm trying to make my line as I'm kind of darkening this black. Instead of having a hard line, I'm trying to make it kind of like I'm zigzagging, or I don't want a straight line, if that makes sense. I want it to look soft, like it's feathers. So I'm just kind of doing like a zigzag motion with my pencil as I'm darkening that. And I'm going to leave it a little white around the eye. Thank you, Joan. So I hope all that made sense. That's how I color. It's very messy. There's no exact science. It just is what it is. Now, for my branch, I'm just using early espresso, and I'm coming in very light. So just like I did everything else, I'm using some circle motions. Oh, I think I missed part of the bird there. And so I'm going to add some of that crushed curry right there where I missed a little bit of the underneath of the bird. And I'm just coloring that branch. And remember, I'm extending it. So I'm just adding a little color. And then I will darken it in spots. So this one, I just used one color, and I'm coming back in along the bottom and adding a little more pressure. And I don't know if you notice, I do turn my pencils a little bit to kind of keep the sharpest side, if you will, up, or where because as you color, it gets dull. And then if you turn it a little bit, you'll notice that when you turn it, there's still a little bit of sharpness on the other side, depending on how you press on your pencil. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I'm just going to come back in and I just keep adding more pressure where I want it darkened. And it's okay to leave white space. So if you have a spot that you left, like right here, I'll pull it up in a minute, that has a little bit of white on it, that's okay. So I'll pull this up. So see, I colored over this very lightly, but I've left some of it lighter. And I just, as you add more and more pressure, it's going to get darker. And that's where you get the variation. So it's okay if you only use one color. You just change the pressure. Now you can also use the gray if you wanted to come in and make something a little darker. You can use the gray and then go back over it with that early espresso pencil. Okay. Joan, well, I love to color, so I would do 50 of a card like this. That's me. And if you don't color a lot, you know, this might not be something that you would do a bunch of cards. But I don't know if you guys remember the truck card I made one year. I made a lot of those. I made a lot of those cards, and that was my Christmas card one year. But I like to stamp things and sit and color. That's my downtime. So that a lot of that time that I'm coloring is out of my craft room. But yeah, we all have different styles and tastes. So that's okay if you made just a special card like this for somebody and didn't make a ton of them. That would be okay. So I'm going to sharpen my black pencil here so that it's really sharp. And like I said, most of the time you don't have your watercolor pencils this sharp, and the tips will break. But I'm going over the feet. So, well, and that happens too. Like I said, they're soft. And if you drop them, they break. So, so I'm not trying to press really hard, but I wanted it sharp so that I could do these little feet that are showing on the branch. Now you don't have to do that. You could just color them and not worry about it. But I like to have mine sharp like that. And they do break. That's why I go through them quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to do my berries. And like I said, originally I used Flirty Flamingo kind of as a highlight. But this time I'm going to just use the Real Red pencil. And I think everyone kind of put in that they liked the red berries. And I'm not really necessarily doing a proper highlight here because I'm just trying to make a little variation in my berries. Okay, so I just put a little bit of that real red. Remember, it's not really like the ink pads. But if you were watercoloring this, because these are watercolor pencils, you could do a dark and as you add more water, it kind of lightens. So you could do that too. I just thought the Flirty Flamingo kind of brightened up the cherry cobbler. And then I'm just coming in and going kind of over that, but I'm starting away from where I put that lighter color on. And then you can darken it. And these go quick because they're just a small space. Okay. So you can add more pressure and then lighten the pressure as you get to the spot where you added the lighter color. And the harder you press, the darker the color is going to be. So I am familiar with how I color. So I feel like I can do this pretty quick because I already know the pressure and I'm used to that. But as you are learning, just take your time and you can do a light layer and then just keep adding pressure until you get used to how you lay on the color. Because as easy as that sounds, it's different for all of us. How we color is just different, and that's okay. So these look a little darker than these because I used that real red instead of the Flirty Flamingo. So if you like the brighter pink on the berry, then you can switch out that color. So just curious, how many of you are going to have this set on your list? Oh, thank you for those likes. I see some things flying on my screen here. Jenny, you're trying to decide. Well, you can come test mine out. I'm really excited to see some of the new things. So, Yeah, the paper is gorgeous. The paper is really gorgeous. Okay, so I've added on quite a bit of dark, and the dark was my cherry cobbler. So now I'm coming back in with the real red, and I'm kind of going over where I originally laid that real red, and then right into the cherry cobbler. So I'm just trying to smooth that line out a little bit. And I did the same thing when I used the Flirty Flamingo and the cherry cobbler. So we're going to look at our two things side by side here so you can kind of see the difference. And one thing is I normally color these and then die cut. So you'll see kind of where I had those lines. You don't get quite the blend, but that's okay. It still comes out looking okay. Okay, so here's the original. And see, this had the Flirty Flamingo. And then here are the berries that I just used the two different red pencils. Ooh. Yeah, I agree, Joan. I can't wait to see what's in that holiday mini. This week, demonstrators get a peek. We get to view it online. So, Zena, I was talking about this earlier. So, thank you, Maggie. I colored my birds as cardinals, but you'll see in the paper, you don't have to color them that way. They give you lots of ideas for other ways to color it. And there's lots of, so that's one sheet of the paper. And let me find the other. So this shows it, and this is almost like a pool party and maybe a daffodil delight. And then there's just so much inspiration. So this paper shows a lot of different birds. They're tiny, but this is like a bluebird. It almost, and so you could color it differently. You don't have to do them as cardinals. I chose cardinals. But yeah. So I kind of feel like the shape is versatile enough that you could maybe change it a little. Thank you, Deb. Ooh, the Frosted Forest bundle. Yeah, that one is, I like that one too. But I'm kind of waiting before I get too ahead of myself because I want to see the mini. I have a budget and I have to stick to it. So I'm kind of waiting. Okay, so now I'm going to do my background. And I used my Coastal Cabana pencil. And so I'm just doing little circles. And I just wanted a little color around my bird. So this one I did really dark. I'm going to try to keep this one really light today. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Sometimes I get heavy-handed and I get going and it just turns out different. So I'm just using this around. And I'm just doing kind of a real light hand with a circle motion. And I like to change the direction just to help me soften my edge, but I want to still keep it kind of light. Now, when you do these backgrounds, you could do a crosshatch. You could do it however you want. So this is just what I like. I just find it's easier to start out really light and then kind of add to it, because yes, you could technically erase these. I have done that, but it's just really hard to take away. So the rule of thumb is always start out light and then add more. And I notice if I get going too fast, you'll notice this is getting a little darker, which I'm okay with a little bit because it's on the bottom side of the birds. If I get going too quick, I tend to start putting a little more pressure, and then I get it darker than I kind of wanted it. So that's why I say take your time. Oh yeah, no, Xana, I'm no judgment there. If you don't want the bird set. I just wanted to let you know that it is a little versatile. The body, it isn't exact to a cardinal, because we've had a cardinal before that you really couldn't change into another bird. You could use it as like a blue jay or something, but it was really, really definite. Let's just say that. So it is, I think, in my opinion, it is a little more versatile. The drawing's a little general, so that you could maybe change the bird. But don't in any way feel swayed. I'm fine if people don't want something. I totally get it. We all have our own styles and things that we like. Now here's where that dullness comes in for your pencil. So see, this one I didn't sharpen. It's easier to go lighter and get that kind of smooth look when it's not sharpened to a point. So I'm just going really lightly. And like I said, I like to switch the direction. It helps me smooth out that edge where I've stopped coloring. And I'm just going around my image. You can make it as big as you want, or you can just do a little bit. So see, this one I kept going over and over it. Thank you for the love. I kept going over and over it, and it got darker. So this one I kept really light. And it's okay if you do darker on the bottom. Sometimes I don't like when this is so uniform. So I like to come back in and kind of make it random. Like I said, you can make it darker on the bottom and then just keep working it however you want. I'm just going to keep smoothing it out. There we go. Oh, wow, Joan, 300 Christmas cards? That's a lot of cards. Yes. Yes, Jenny, that the Frosted Forest bundle is the tree masks. And oh, sorry, totally hit my camera. Sorry about that. Yeah, I do, I'll be honest, Joan, I don't do one design for my Christmas cards. So I like to do lots of different ones. So I might do 20 of a design and then I kind of switch it up. I know Jenny makes a ton. I vary from year to year. I make, now we also make cards that we donate, but I don't count those because they're not my personal cards. So I'm always making cards for others. But I do about 60. Some years I do 100. It just kind of depends on what I get done. So, okay. So what do you guys think? So it came out a little different. Remember, this is my first time coloring this one. So, you know, came out a little different. Now we've got to pick that Merry Christmas. And I am stamping it. Now, this was stamped in Smoky Slate. I didn't want it to compete with my image. And I can grab, I do have Smoky Slate out, but I also have Basic Gray. I stamped my birds in Basic Gray. Oh, nice, Joan. I forgot that you sell cards. So that makes sense. That's awesome. I think that's awesome. I have sold them in the past too. Sometimes I make special orders. I've done that. Just kind of depends. So I'm looking through my paper pumpkins to see what I might like. Now this was from October of 2021, but I like, so let me show you this. I like this scripty Merry Christmas. Let's see how it fits. And remember, I pulled these paper pumpkins because they're typically a little bit smaller stamps. So they are going to fit this space that I have right here a little different. So that would be that one. Can you guys see that? So we would stamp right there. And guess what? I'm pulling out my stamp positioner because there's no way I'm ruining this. Thank you, Joan. Thanks, Maggie. I love this. So I feel like I can color a little faster with my watercolor pencils than I do my markers. So I have not tried this set with the Stampin' Blends. So if you had Stampin' Blends, you certainly could do that. I just feel like the tips are not as fine tip. And so sometimes there's images that I just like to use my pencils on. So there's one. That one looks too big. So some of these I'm just looking at because like this one's, for instance, it has this pretty Merry Christmas, but the stamp is actually big. So that would be too big. It doesn't even fit on my circle. But if you were doing a, maybe you were doing a strip, then that would fit. But here's one that we got. This was last year's kit, October last year. And we have this Merry Christmas. You can tell I use this stamp quite a bit. And so this one's stacked. And this one would go across the page. And you could angle it a little bit. I think it might work. And like I said, I'm using my stamp positioner, so I'm not too worried about this texture. What do you like the straight line one, or do you like the stacked? And I might actually like the stacked a little bit better. So see, this was a small greeting. And I just used it across, and it was a little bit smaller. So it's really kind of your preference. And I think these images can go for any type of card. I really think it can be for any occasion. So we have the straight, or we have the stacked. And I kind of like the stacked But I don't want to sway your vote. You tell me when you look at this what you like better. So I see a vote for straight and a vote for stacked. Oh, that's very sweet, Xana. So, I get it. A lot of people these days don't send Christmas cards. I love getting them though. So if you send Christmas cards, feel free to send one to me. But I also donate cards. I make cards for a lot of other people to use or give, and I have people that order cards sets from me. And so I just love to make cards. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? So, but I think it's sweet that you donate in honor of your nephew. That's a really wonderful thing to do. So I have 2 votes for stacked. Anyone else? Anyone want to vote? I know people may be getting coffee breaks. Get a coffee break if you need one. Okay, so you don't do cards. Okay, that's cool. I love that. Oh, Xana, I'm sorry. I know that can be very difficult. So, I know earlier we asked to lift up one of our other crafty friends, sisters. So you guys, same for Xana. Lift Xana up, whatever you do. Prayers, good vibes, and hope that she can get back to what she loves, making some cards. Do we have any other votes? Otherwise, I'm going to do the stacked. I think it had a couple more votes, but either one is fine. So please remember that. Whatever stamps you have. I probably have a straight Merry Christmas that's tinier, but it's in my retired sets, and I don't have them sorted properly right now. So the quickest thing for me to grab are my paper pumpkins. And if you're like me and you've been collecting these paper pumpkins for a while, why not use them, right? They have I love it that they're different fonts, and some of them are stacked, some of them are very scripty, some of them are bold. Like, let me show you. This one's from a long time ago, 2014, and so this one is stacked, but it's all uppercase. So the fonts are very different. And like I don't miss the holiday sets. So those come October and November. And the paper pumpkin labels. Yes. So those labels that I printed for the older sets are on Facebook. And I'm not sure if she's a demonstrator. A lady made those files that you can download and print. And it is called Paper Pumpkin Fan Club. It's ran by another demonstrator. And so you can ask to join. I think it has some questions. You just do whatever it asks so that you can join. And they post all kinds of things. They post about the sets coming, the sneaks that we have, and they also post some alternatives and different things. So it's a great resource that you can join. I know, Xana. I wish you guys had paper pumpkin sets too, but I like that they have the kits collection now, so that you can have share in that as well. I like that, and they will have Christmas sets coming, so that will be fun. Okay, so we're gonna make one more choice before I stamp this. I'm gonna set some of my piles off to the side here. We're gonna make one more choice. So here's our card, and I'm going to pull the camera up now that I'm done coloring as soon as we make this choice. So my original card used this, and this is a 3-inch by 5.5 piece, and this is actually 2.5, so this would get trimmed down a little bit. So this is how our card stacks. Okay. So do we want to keep it this this is a basic gray. This is a striped from the Color Family Designer Series paper packs. Yeah, Xana, I agree. I hope that it can come to you. And I know there's some changes for the future and how Paper Pumpkin's going to be. I don't know all of those details yet because Stampin' Up! Hasn't given us all the exact details. But I'm hoping that when that changes, that means all of our markets will get it. But I don't know yet. And I think it has a lot to do with customs and the shipping issues. And so don't quote me on any of those because I don't know 100%. But, oh, sorry, hit my camera again, trying to get some paper. But I do hope, I hope for you guys so much because I think these kits are fun. Now, these kits versus like a kits collection kit is these are mostly a surprise. So when we get this, we might know the color, we know the colors, we know the ink spot. Sometimes we get a sneak peek of an image or a partial card or something, but we don't always know what it looks like. Okay, so I have some more choices. We can switch out this paper if we want. Thank you, Maggie. I really like it. Joan, it's 90 where you are. Oh yeah, it is a little cooler here where we are. It has cooled off a little bit. We had some cold fronts move through with some storms. But yeah, I don't mind. We had a week in the hundreds and I'm definitely over that, but I don't mind the heat for a little bit. I'm not quite ready for fall though. I'm still glad for summer. So I pulled out some papers that are available online, like the Winter Meadow. And I thought we could get a little bold. Now, these are not cut yet. I keep hitting my camera because it's down too far, so I'm sorry. So we could add in, now the paper that comes with this does have a pool party paper, but I'm going to try to use up something I have. So this is that Winter Meadow, and it is online. So we could do a strip like this, and this is actually like, I think it's pretty peacock, but it's like watercolored. So it goes really well with that background I colored on. But it has a wintry theme. And there's this one too that has a little more white. So we could change out this paper and really change kind of the feeling of our card. So the gray pinstripe, I felt like it was just like a general, it gave my card a general feel. But if you want to change it to a Christmas card, you could certainly bring in some different colors or some different papers. So this could be a winter birthday card if you really want to have that winter feel. The other paper that I had, now and some of this is retired, but this was the St. Nicholas set. So here's a green pattern, and then this is a pebbled path, so it's a gray, but it's more of a brownish gray. So those could work as well. So I don't want to give you too many choices, but I wanted you to see if you have some paper in your stash, grab it out, use this design, and it's okay if you don't have this new paper, you can add in some of these. This goes very well with your cherry cobbler. So there's that pebbled path, and it's kind of just a leaf pattern. And then, or you can use your traditional colors of Christmas. And this, I'm not sure exactly which green. I think it's Mossy Meadow. But it has kind of a watercolor look, so you could use this. So I'm just kind of showing you, because I haven't cut any of these papers yet. So what do you think? I have loads over here, but I'm not going to pull out everything. I have lots and lots of paper. So what do you think? Do you want to do a traditional theme, like one of these papers? So let's decide that first. This is Winter Meadows with that frosted watercolor, kind of like an ice look. So let's do 1 is the Winter Meadows, and 2 is the St. Nicholas paper. So let's vote on that, and we'll finish up this card. What do you guys think? And then while we're deciding that, I'm going to readjust my camera so that it's up and I stop whacking it. And we'll stamp our greeting and finish our card. Ooh, I'm moving my table and everything, so it's harder to get it back where I had it. But just bear with me, guys. Thank you. So 2 is the St. Nicholas. And you know, some of my favorite color combos for winter are the Cherry Cobbler with Coastal Cabana and Pretty Peacock and Pool Party. So this was, I think this was the first one I showed Xana. So either one of these could work. Obviously, this is a lighter version. It has more white, but they are the same color. These are Pretty Peacock, just like a watercolored frosted look. So that is the Winter Meadows. And this is online. So if you still want to grab this one, you can. So this was number 1. The St. Nicholas was number 2. Anyone else want to throw their hat in the ring for this one? Oh, thank you, Linda. I love that you said that, Maggie. They all work. They all work. And Maggie's comment was they each changed the feeling of the card. That is probably the thing that I notice the most when I'm crafting. And sometimes you think, I want a certain color, but you don't have a patterned paper, or the pattern feels off, and it changes the feeling of your card. And I truly believe that colors and patterns and how we mix those things changes our card. And that's a great point to make. So it does change the feel of the card. So this definitely has, to me, a more traditional feel, which is fine. I like them both. And honestly, I would probably cut these papers up, and if I were making a set of these cards, I would use all the papers, because some people I know like traditional, and they love that traditional red and green. And some people are like me. I like non-traditional, mostly. I love lots of different Christmas things. So I think they all work. So I think I have, and I still love the stripes too. I love the stripes. So even if you wanted this on your Christmas card, that would be fine too. Oh, Xana, so you're hot too. Is 86 really hot for where you are? I know whenever I've been in Europe, I always feel like it's way colder than I'm used to here in the States. So, and I've never been to the UK, so I appreciate that you went to the trouble to change it to how we describe temperatures. That is very sweet. Yeah, so I love all these things. I think even this stripe can be for your Christmas card. It's really what you like, your preference. So I don't know. I feel like we're almost tied. I think we're tied. So I need a decider here. Let me see if I can put them all on the screen here. Because once we decide whether we want one or two, then we'll narrow it down. I'm going to actually do something different from the gray. But you kind of get it. You see it with the original card. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my camera just a tad because it's really bothering me. Sorry, my chair hit my door. There we go. So I need a decider. Anybody still on? I don't know who is still here. But this, to me, this makes a difference. Definitely makes a difference in the end of your card, how it comes together. So I've had a few votes for the number 1 and a few votes for the number 2. Who wants to be the decider? Oh, I think, Maggie, you changed your vote, didn't you? Or did I switch? Me, Joan, I don't like to be the decider. All right, I'm going to go with the pretty peacock. But just know I'm making more of these cards. So when I might use all of these patterns and then we'll vote on them when they're finished. I do like this one. I like all of them. What am I talking about? I like all of them. So I'm going to cut this. And see, this paper varies quite a bit. So if you chop this all up to make a set of these cards, they're all going to look a little bit different because it's swirled and it's meant to have this ice effect. Okay. And one of the reasons, I will say this, one of the reasons why I chose that gray stripe on my original card was because I wanted my image to be the focal point. And I felt like using something that was just a general pattern didn't take away from my birds. So I'm going to cut this And like I said, depending on how we, so this is going to look different than, say, this. How we cut it is going to look a little bit different, but I really like this right here. So I am going to cut this at 2.5. By 5.5. And this is going to go here. And then our birds will be like this. And we're going to stamp our Merry Christmas up here. So look, such a different feeling from this card. And if you like it wider, you like the 3 inches, feel free to change that. I think I did 2.5. Did I cut that right? Yeah. Yeah, it just looks different. When you have a different pattern, even the width looks different to me. But it's not. They're the same. Thought maybe I was losing my mind there for a minute. I like to put mine off center. I do my pattern to the left, and then I kind of center this. So what do you think? And I have a basic white layer for the inside. So you could also stamp this and color it. I'm going to leave this blank. So I could stamp this on the inside and color it. I could stamp this little bird in the corner. You could stamp a partial bird. You could let it hang off and just stamp part of it. I'm going to leave this one blank though. And we're all ready. Let me grab my positioner. It's here somewhere. Now I still have this one, but you use whatever you have. And I'm going to take my, no, I do need my photopolymer insert. I was thinking the birds. The birds were red rubber. So I'm just going to put this here, and then I'm going to position this. So I think I want my birds like that, and I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas right there. Now, we have one more thing to decide. Do we want it to be smoky slate, which is this lighter color, or do we want it to be basic gray, which is going to be really dark, like we stamped our birds? Our birds were stamped in the basic gray. So should we make it lighter or darker? So let's do A for smoky slate and B for basic gray. And then we're all set. We're just going to adhere everything together and we're good to go. You're the gray expert. Well, you know, gray is one of my favorite neutrals. But I just really, what it comes down to is how prominent you want your greeting. So you don't have to choose gray. If you wanted it to be red or pretty peacock, you certainly could do that to match the colors underneath. But I don't want it to distract too much from my birds. I wanted this to be the center of attention. And so that is how I choose my colors that go underneath and the colors for my greeting. And a lot of times I use that basic gray. I just feel like it's not distracting. But you can still see it. So on this one, I wanted it to just be a little lighter, so I chose smoky slate. So really, there's no wrong answer. That's just the line of thought that I use when I choose. And I would probably use smoky slate. That would be my choice. But I want to know what you guys think. That's why we're here on Saturday mornings, to help you learn the process. And we all have different styles, so there's no right or wrong. It is really preference. Comes down to what you prefer when you're making your card and finishing your card. So does anyone have a preference, or do you just want me to stamp it? I don't want to take it away from you if you want to explore that. I do want to finish up my card. We've been here for a while, haven't we? I'm just going to go with Smoky Slate. That's what we're going to go with. So I'm going to just, and you can always change it. Oh, it needs to stay. Oh, true. So I'm going to show you a trick. I have inked it in Smoky Slate, and that's okay. But let me show you a little something. Let's play with this. So you're right. If you're stamping over the background, so if I had colored it really dark and you're actually layering those, you do want it to be dark enough to show up. So I'm going to show you a little something. I inked it in Smoky Slate. I'm going to stamp it. So that's just inking it once and stamping it. So if you want it darker, maybe you don't have basic gray and you're saying, oh, Beth, I only have Smoky Slate. What am I going to do? Well, if you've used that stamp positioner, you're going to ink that stamp again. Oh, I misunderstood what you meant, Maggie. Okay, so you mean because of this paper. Well, that could be a factor too. That is a good thing to point out. So I've inked it again and I've stamped it again. And I can do that because I've used a stamp positioner. So look, it's okay if you don't have basic gray because I have this. And so I can, what Maggie was pointing out was this is dark. And you're right. It could affect how noticeable that is. So there we have it. I've stamped it twice and it's darker. If you want it darker, ink it again and stamp it again. So this is how you can use your ink pads to your advantage. It's okay if you only have a few inks, because just like we can stamp off and do the generation stamping where you use second generation, you can also use your stamp positioner and keep inking and make it darker. I really like that. So I inked that 3 times and stamped it again. And the other reason why I was saying to use this, and I didn't on my first one and I regretted it, is because say this S didn't stamp all the way. I can close this again and press it down and make sure that everything's stamped how it's supposed to. So there we go. And I'm going to leave that as is. I'll leave that on my positioner. I'm just going to move everything out of the way. Thank you, Maggie. So there we have it. And this is, I mean, I used a die cut, but if you're recreating this and you're copying me at home, you could use a square or whatever shape you have. You don't have to have die cuts. You could, again, just use a square and make this card. And it's a fairly simple, it's not a no layer card, but it has a few bits and pieces, but I think it's really pretty. Sometimes just having a few bits and keeping it kind of simple makes for a beautiful card. So that's my inside. And this should go edge to edge. Looks like I cut it just a tad short, but that's okay. Now this is the other side of that card, but the colors don't really go with how I colored my berries. I'm not even sure what berry that is. It looks a little bit different. But this paper is beautiful. So I'm just going to run my finger along here because I do want this to be straight. It looks like I have it a little off on there, but that's okay. It could be my red paper. So there's our layer. And then this layer, I used dimensionals to pop it up a little bit. Thank you, Xana. So as you can see, every time I color, it comes out a little different, and that's okay. That's just the nature of coloring. We're human, so they're gonna vary, but I like it. I like that they're not all identical, exactly the same, and looks like a pre-printed card. Now you could use the designer series paper and layer it onto a shape. So if you don't get the stamp set, you could use the paper and cut around those birds and add them to the front of a card and make some really, really pretty cards. So I'm just trying to get my Merry Christmas as straight as I can. It's scripty, so I don't worry if it's perfect because that kind of looks handwritten. There we go. There's our Christmas card. So we've recreated this layout with the same products and then just switched out the paper and the stamp and the greeting. Thank you, Linda, to finish off our card. And I corrected my mistake where on these I forgot to put the black part in for the bird. I loved them both ways. Yes, I agree, Xana. I agree. So I hope you all have enjoyed this Christmas in July Christmas card. And I hope it's given you some ideas on how to grab out some of those sets, like the paper pumpkins that you've collected. Or there's even Christmas kits that we had. I didn't grab those out that we had last year, and I kept those stamp sets. So you can always pull in those. We've had, like I said, lots of retired Merry Christmases on all different sizes, and pull some of those out that you've kept and pair them with new things. So one thing that's on my list that's in the online exclusives right now is that sled bundle. I just haven't gotten those yet, and it comes with a little tiny bird. And so I'm excited to get that and create with it, but I don't have it in hand yet. So just kind of brainstorm about things that you already have that you could use if you're making some Christmas cards in July and getting started early. This is this is actually for someone else, not me, but that's okay. We'll get there. So thank you all for joining me today. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products and you're here in the U.S. and you don't have a demonstrator, feel free to pop on over to my website, bethroy.stampinup.net, and you can click on the Shop Now button and get inks, paper, adhesive, whatever you need to start your Christmas cards. And you can check out those new online exclusives and see if there's anything that you like in there. If you have any questions, feel free to message me at any time. I'm happy to help you think about ways to use your stamps you already own or add a few things to help you stretch those supplies. So thank you all. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you soon. Take care.